Hello, YouTube. I have been racking my brain over how to save Luna in the new non-crit meta. Now, as everyone knows, there is the new module, Aggressive Melody. The Aggressive Melody module is a way to save her, but I still like Nimble Footsteps, and I have come up with a way to play her and a way to build her so that you can deal a respectable amount of damage with either Aggressive Melody or Nimble Footsteps. So there really is two ways to play Luna. You can play Buff Luna or you can play Noise Surge Luna. And while Noise Surge Luna does a fair amount of damage for crit, you don't get any buffs from her. There's a ton of people that love to play Luna, so I have come up with two support builds. One is a standard support build. It's what you would play if you had allies moving around modules, but what I really want to go over is this support DPS build. We are using the Hungry Sonic sensor today for some tech in order for you to not run out of ammunition. Typically, whenever you play Luna, you buff her as such, and you can cast her enhanced songs like this. Using, as most of you know, you are supposed to sit there and time the beats. This is absolutely horrid for damage, as a mistime beat and a hit beat do the same amount of damage. The game would very much like to incentivize you with perfect pitch in order to time your beats and deal more damage. However, it is ending up to be around a 10% damage increase at the end of your 26 stacks, so I don't really believe that it's worth it if you find a way to just spam your abilities. There is, in fact, a way. We begin with Hungry Sonic. Hungry Sonic sensor, when using your skill, you are granted 1 stack of Efflux, and then when you're using an enhanced skill, you grant a stack of Wave and 10 stacks of Efflux. This would mean after 10 enhanced songs, you get a maximum Wave buff. Each stack of Wave recovers 0.2% of your MP per stack when you hit an enemy with a unique weapon. So at 1 stack, you can see just the tiniest bit of movement in your MP bar. And at 10 stacks, you can see a lot of movement in the MP bar whenever you actually hit an enemy with your unique weapon. So as long as you do not let your stacks fade, once you get more and more stacks, you'll be capable of regening your mana at an infinite capacity, almost. The longer the fight goes on, the better this Luna is, and the really only thing you have to worry about at a certain point is running out of ammo. So I have 26 ammo here. I do gain it fast enough if I just wait a little bit. The red buff does the most amount of damage, and you get, of course, 10 more rounds of ammunition every time you switch your song. But using this, you can deal a respectable amount of damage. These are level 100 enemies. The amount of stacks does not affect your damage, just your mana. I do believe that you can have a respectable amount of damage as Luna, and like I said, the only thing you have to worry about is running out of ammunition. But even if you do run out of ammunition, fear not, you don't lose your stacks. You only lose the stacks that you let time out, which should be fine because the natural cooldown on her first ability is just fine. But I do believe she does a respectable enough amount of damage in order to warrant playing her now. At least you can clear ads and buff your allies when needed. The amount of damage that she outputs is going to be very similar to an Enduring Legacy with no buffs. And this is all without Passionate Sponsor proccing. So every time you buff an ally, you get 1 stack of Passionate Sponsor. This goes all the way up to 75 stacks. Her stage presence has a 175% power modifier on it, and the build comes with a positive of 56. Minus 20 come from maximizing conservation, which is absolutely required. Of course, Tech Specialist. Luna has a base skill crit rate of 15%, so I have chosen to stack critical hit multipliers on her for more damage if you wish for more survivability. Unfortunately, the build only comes with 7,300 hit points, so if you want to stack more hit points, I would recommend taking off Front lines would be the least damaging module as far as damaging modules go on here. You can't really take off selective recovery because you need the MP. Selective recovery increases your MP recovery modifier by 60%, so every time you hit a note and you gain MP back, you gain more MP. Arc concretion is also capable of being taken off if you really want to. It takes a while to develop the stacks, and if you lose the stacks, you have to develop them again anyway, so I recommend taking off either Arc concretion or front lines for more hit points. Personally, I would take off Arc concretion first, to each their own. What Arc concretion does, because a lot of people are confused about Arc concretion, is that whenever you use a skill, you get 1 stack. If you used an enhanced skill, you get 10 stacks. And at 30 stacks, you will get a maximum buff of 33% MP and 60% defense. Arc concretion reduces all attribute damage that is not non-attribute damage by 22%. I don't know the reason behind that, but some sort of balancing tactic, I'm sure. So currently I have 459 MP. After 3 enhanced songs, I am brought to 638. The roles that are required on the Hungry Sonic sensor for this sort of MP damage setup are going to be the MP recovery out of combat on the power sensor, on the power unit, the maximum MP on the Sonic sensor, the MP recovery modifier on the memory, and that's the only 3 that are required to make this sort of playstyle actually work. On to the build itself, on your stat stick, the item that you use for her unique weapon, there is only 2 modules that work. One of them is Analysis Master, so this gives all of your allies a 25% bonus to hit them with a firearm critical hit rate. This is multiplicative, so if an enemy has a 40% firearm critical hit resistance, this will make that 40% 30%. It is not a subtractive modifier. The other module that works is Sharp Precision Shot. Don't use Sharp Precision Shot. It's kind of weird, and you'll just run out of ammo before you get a lot out of it anyway. Fire Rate Up, Magazine Compulsive, and Expand Weapon Charge are the other modules that are going to work on your stat stick, which I have all 3 on Luna. There is also a setting in order for you to enable in order for this to work. Most of you already have it on, and that is going to be the Change Fire Mode on. You will see that it says this option does not affect such effects from skills. That this is not what they mean. They do not mean unique weapons, because this is not a skill now. This is a weapon as soon as you convert it. It is a skill, but not for that option. That will need to be enabled. A lot of people that play Luna will have that off for good reason. Without these stacks, your MP drain will look similar to that. You get around 20 rounds before you're out of ammo, unless you are in the second song shooting at an enemy. If you are in the second song shooting at an enemy, you will not have any MP problems as soon as you get to the portion of the gun with a lot of notes. Once you get an applicable amount of MP recovery on your gun, it will behoove you to use the enhanced second song as your damage. Once you get to the enhanced second song, you will do a lot more damage, and your MP recovery will still be decent enough to use that method. At maximum notes, which you can get around the 4.5 to 5 minute mark, it will even be better, but most matches are over by then. If you take her into the Obstructor and you take her into the Death Stalker, you will notice that you absolutely slaughter all of the skulls and the floating orbs that come at you. She auto-targets things like that. The amount of damage that she does isn't incredible. You will now deal enough damage to be able to be clearing ads. Keep in mind, this is solo, so I still don't have Passionate Sponsor procced. And then if you find yourself running low on mana, you can just time your shots and you'll still get your mana back. Albeit a little bit at a time, but you won't be running for mana anymore. And then the enhanced buff, as you can see, still mows down ads pretty good. Then at a certain point, of course, all you have to do is worry about running out of ammunition. In a best case scenario, you are still giving all of your allies 0.75% of your MP maximum, which is 640, without having the inversion reinforcement natural focus augmentation active. So this will stack up to 5 times. It lasts 30 seconds for a stack. It's really easy to keep up in most scenarios. You will go from the mid 600s to about 800. At 800 on an enhanced buff, you'll be giving your allies 63% base power skill boost ratio. A base power skill boost ratio will wind up here, so 63% added on top of that. Skill damage increase is what you're giving to every ally. The reason you shouldn't worry about Luna's damage to begin with is because you're multiplying the damage of your party, easily replacing the damage output that Luna could have done had she been a Freyna. Case in point, this lepic clip.
Are you
Yeah,
ready?
Luna's quite useful. Oh, it's a different build, but same premise. All you need is
Change the beat.
the MP modules for maximum damage, and then you're buffing people for the maximum amount, you know? Then this buff right here. Interesting. If you have 3 Freynas, you are adding 1.8 non-crit Freynas to the damage rotation. If the Freynas are built for crit, which is unlikely in this current meta, I will have a bone to pick with the devs later about that, but she will also give them a 35% critical hit rate increase. This does stack on modules, so as long as they have a skill insight and a front lines, they are guaranteed at least a 97% skill critical hit rate. If they have more than 5% on their descendant, they will get a 100% critical hit rate. And if they also have an emergency measures instead of a front lines, they will also get a 100% critical hit rate, as well as increasing the skill critical hit damage by 50%. So if they are built for crit, usually it's at least 3 times critical hit damage multiplier. You will have a 50% increase of damage on that 3, giving you another 16% increase. But the real damage comes from a 100% critical hit rate increase. That is Buff Luna's specialty on Nimble Footsteps or with no mod. With Aggressive Melody, and then Aggressive Melody will give you a 7.8% critical hit rate increase, which does scale off the mods. Usually this is around an extra 13% critical hit rate stacked on top of whatever critical hit rate you have. And then the 3.9 max MP increase is also a power boost ratio into the firearm attack. This is going to be around 35 to 40%. On the firearm attack increase of the gun you have. Whenever you stack it on top of whatever you have as a bonus, this usually is around 20% increase, but it also comes with a 36% increase in firearm critical hit damage, which is going to depend on the gun that your allies are using. The Cheerful Act, the 4th ability, this will give them a weak point damage increase. Now, in my opinion, don't really use this unless you can activate the Cheerful Act and the Exciting Act. If you are unsure, there is a more comprehensive guide into Luna and how all of her abilities actually interact with her and the party, and going over the math for, say, a critical hit Freyna build. That is going to be in the link of this video, so I don't sound like a broken record, and you don't have to listen to an extra 10 minutes on this video on how to play Luna. While Luna is complex, the only different thing about this build is that you just spam her attacks. You don't have to play DDR anymore. As fun as Guitar Hero is for 10 hours, I think we're all done. On her mounted gun, what you want on her reactor is non-attribute and tech. You will find that this says tech and this says singular, but whenever you shoot the gun, you are dealing tech damage. A note on Noise Surge: whenever you activate the ability, you are doing singular damage. So if you are building a Noise Surge Luna, you will need a different reactor. You can use the Slayer set to deal more individual damage from your unique weapon. However, this will completely ruin the capability for you to fire off unlimited rounds. So you'll get around 20 to 30% of the damage as Luna if you try to just time the notes. I seriously doubt the devs intended for her to be played like this, but if they did, good job. You still get the enhanced exciting performance skill power modifier increase of 65% on the exciting act, so that will be your highest damaging section when you have the stacks of wave that come with the Hungry Sonic sensor built up enough to just spam that ability. But until then, the second act will give you the MP recovery you need in order to spam your abilities for damage. So if you are a public player and you go into Publix and you're doing a 400 run, then you load in and there just happens to be 3 Enzos there, just worry about your own damage. But if there are 3 Freynas there, you will get way more damage out of buffing the Freynas than you could ever deal as any Descendant, honestly. Luna is the highest DPS class in the game under the right circumstances because she simply just gives so much damage to her allies. The only reason I have built this build is because it feels bad to shoot an ad and do 0 damage. Now you can add clear, you can pop the orbs on the immune commanders. She auto targets the orbs. She's a really good orb popper, about as good as Bunny, honestly. And her damage is about equivalent to a fully built Enduring Legacy. Anyway, I thought y'all would enjoy Luna Tech. Like I said, if you need more information on Luna and how to best use her and develop her stacks, that will be in the description, as well a link to Twitch, which I made this video on my Twitch. If you're interested in that, check me out. Check out my channel. If you're interested in the way I make content, consider subscribing. You have a sick day, and peace out.